Okay, let's talk about computer safety. But, probably not in the way you're expecting. We're going to go beyond the usual stuff about viruses and passwords. We're going to uncover the hidden dangers, both in the real physical world around you and in the digital world you're plugged into.
So, let me ask you something straight up. The device you're on right this second, is it a potential hazard? The short answer? Yep, it absolutely is. And the risks are probably a lot closer and way more varied than you even realize. Let's break down exactly what they are.
First up, let's just look at your immediate surroundings. I mean the physical, tangible dangers right there in the room with you that can lead to some serious trouble. And we're going to start with the most serious risk of all, electrocution. Yeah, I know it sounds extreme, but when you start mixing high-voltage electronics with the chaos of everyday life, that danger becomes very, very real.
The funny thing is how simple the causes and the solutions really are. A spilled drink, for example, seems like no big deal, right? But it can be incredibly dangerous. The easiest fix in the world, just keep your coffee cup away from your laptop. And hey, take a second to actually look at your cables. Are they frayed, damaged? If they are, get them replaced. These little checks can literally prevent a disaster.
All right, next up is a danger that can start completely silently: fire. The very gear we rely on every single day can become a pretty serious hazard if we're not careful.
Go on, take a look at your wall socket right now. How many things are plugged into it? Overloading sockets is such a classic fire risk. And the answer isn't just another extension block. And what about those vents on your computer? They're not for decoration, they're for cooling. So don't cover them up or shove your machine right against the wall. Good airflow is so crucial to prevent overheating.
Okay, last one for the physical dangers. Let's talk about the ones we've all probably come close to experiencing: tripping over cables and injuries from heavy equipment falling over.
Really, this all just comes down to basic housekeeping. Wires trailing all over the floor are just an accident waiting to happen. Tuck them away in cable ducts, or even better, go wireless, and get rid of the risk completely. And that desk of yours? Is it actually sturdy enough for all your stuff? A heavy monitor on a wobbly table is just asking for trouble.
So, we've secured our physical space. Awesome. Now, let's switch gears and move to the digital world. Now we're talking about protecting something you can't even see, but is incredibly valuable: your personal data.
Now, in most places around the world, your data is actually protected by law, usually through something called a Data Protection Act, or a DPA. Its entire reason for existing is to give you rights over your own information and to make sure any company holding it does so responsibly. And these laws are built on a set of core principles. You can think of them as your data rights. For example, your info has to be used lawfully and only for the reason they told you they were collecting it. It has to be accurate, and, this is a big one, it has to be kept secure and they can't just hang on to it forever.
So what even counts as personal data? Well, the definition is super broad on purpose. The key test is this: if a piece of information, by itself or with other info, can be used to identify a living person, then it's personal data. Simple as that.
And this just shows you how broad that definition really is. I mean, of course your name and address count, but so does your IP address, the cookie ID in your browser, even a photo of you. It's all information that points right back to you.
Now, within that big category of personal data, some information gets an even higher level of protection. Why? Because it's considered sensitive and its misuse could cause serious harm.
We're talking about things like your ethnicity, your political opinions, or your medical history. Because this kind of information could be used to discriminate against someone, the law demands that it's handled with the absolute highest level of care and security.
Okay, so we understand the rules of the road, but how do we actually apply them to stay safe in our day-to-day online life? Let's get practical.
Think of this as your basic checklist for safer browsing. Always look for that little padlock and HTTPS in the address bar. It means your connection is secure. Be super skeptical of downloads, keep your security software updated, and for goodness sake, when you're done, especially on a public computer, log out.
Oh, here's a fantastic, super simple tip for spotting fake emails. Always look at the address after the @ symbol. A giant company like Amazon is never going to email you from a generic gmail.com account. They'll use their own domain. That one tiny detail can be the difference between a real message and a total scam.
All right, for our final section, let's look at the active threats out there, the scams and attacks specifically built to trick you and steal your info. It is time to know your enemy.
Hacking is the classic digital threat, right? Someone illegally breaking into your system. Their goal? Usually identity theft or just causing chaos with your data. Your best defense is a layered one. A firewall is like a digital security guard for your network. For passwords, don't just make them strong, make them long. Think of 3 random words together, like purple monkey dishwasher. It's easy for you to remember, but a nightmare for a computer to guess. And of course, keep that security software updated.
Phishing is just pure deception. You get an email that looks totally real, from your bank, maybe a delivery service, and it tries to panic you into clicking a link. That link goes to a fake website that looks real, and it's designed to steal your login or your credit card details. The best prevention is just a healthy dose of skepticism. Question everything.
And phishing isn't just for email anymore. When it happens over a text message, it's called smishing. And over a deceptive voicemail, that's vishing. It's the exact same tactic, just on a different platform, trying to trick you into giving up your information.
Now, farming is even sneakier than phishing. Instead of tricking you into clicking a bad link, malicious code on your computer can actually redirect you to a fake website even if you type the correct address. It just hijacks your traffic. This is exactly why anti-spyware software is so important. It's designed to hunt for these nasty little programs. And as always, look for that secure HTTPS connection.
We have covered a lot, from the physical danger of a spilled drink to the digital deception of farming. The threats are real, for sure, but as we've seen, the solutions are often surprisingly simple. So the question isn't just about knowing the risks, it's about what you do next. Looking at your own setup, what is one simple change you can make right now to be safer?
We live our lives online, right? But with every click, we're navigating a world that has some real dangers. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the threats that are lurking behind your screen, and even at the ATM, and most importantly, show you exactly how to fight back.
So, does this feel familiar? Your computer, which used to be your best friend, is suddenly moving at a snail's pace. It crashes out of nowhere, and these bizarre pop-ups, they're everywhere. It is so frustrating. But you know what? These aren't just random glitches. They are almost always signs of a much bigger, hidden problem.
And that hidden problem? Well, it has a name. And it's kind of the root of all evil when it comes to digital threats. So let's start right there, with the big one. What exactly is malware?
Okay, so here's the deal. Malware is just short for malicious software. Think of it less as one specific thing and more like an umbrella term for any software that's deliberately designed to mess with your computer, steal your information, or just generally cause chaos.
But see, malware isn't just one bad guy. It's more like a whole family of digital villains, and each one has its own nasty specialty. So let's take a quick tour through this rogues gallery and meet the most common culprits you're likely to run into.
First up, let's talk about 2 words you've definitely heard before: virus and worm. They sound kind of similar, but there is a massive difference. A virus is basically a parasite. It has to latch onto a real program, and it only spreads when you run that program. A worm, though, that's a whole different beast. It's a standalone program that can copy itself and wiggle its way across entire networks all on its own. That's what makes them so incredibly dangerous.
A classic virus can really wreck your day. It can delete your files, make your whole computer crash, or just fill up your hard drive with junk. The good news is, the defense against them is pretty straightforward. You've got to have updated antivirus software, you have to be super suspicious of programs from sketchy websites, and please, be careful with emails from people you don't know.
And then we have the Trojan horse. And yes, it's just as sneaky as the one from the old stories. This is malware that pretends to be something useful, maybe a free game, a cool app, or even a fake software update. Its entire job is to fool you into opening the gates and letting it right into your system.
And here's exactly how it works. It's a simple 3-step trick. First, the malware is hidden inside something that looks totally harmless. Second, you download it and run it thinking, hey, this is great, and that's the moment you've invited it in. Finally, the malicious code springs to life, and just like that, criminals can get their hands on your passwords, your data, everything.
Just imagine for a second. You turn on your computer, and this is the message you see. It is absolutely terrifying, and it's the calling card for one of the scariest types of malware out there today, ransomware.
Yeah, ransomware doesn't just damage your files, it literally takes them hostage. It encrypts everything, your photos, your documents, all of it, making it totally useless to you. Then it demands money, a ransom for the key to get it all back. And how does it usually get in? You guessed it, through a Trojan horse.
Now, not all malware is loud and destructive.
Some of it is designed to be a silent little spy. And that is exactly what spyware is. Its only goal is to hide on your computer and just watch. It monitors everything you do without you ever knowing it's there.
Spyware usually comes in two main flavors. You've got keyloggers, which are seriously scary. They record every single thing you type, passwords, credit card numbers, you name it. And then you've got adware, which is less about stealing and more about being incredibly annoying, flooding your screen with pop-ups and ads. Okay, we've covered the digital bad guys, but these threats, they don't just stay inside your computer. So now we're going to switch gears and look at how criminals target your actual money out in the real world.
I mean, we use these things every single day, right? The card reader at the coffee shop, the ATM down the street. They make life super convenient, but they're also the front lines in the battle to protect our financial information offline.
So the first technique is so simple, it's almost hard to believe it works. It's called shoulder surfing. And yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. Someone just looks over your shoulder while you type in your PIN. They might use a hidden camera, or they might just be standing a little too close. It's low tech, but shockingly effective.
But to actually use your PIN, they need your card's data too. And that's where this cloning tech comes in. For older cards with that magnetic stripe, criminals use a skimmer. It's a fake card reader that fits right over the real one. For our newer chip cards, they've gotten sneakier. They use shimmers. These are paper-thin devices that actually slide inside the card slot. They're almost impossible to see.
And this is the final piece of the puzzle. Once they've got your card data from a skimmer or a shimmer, and they've got your PIN from shoulder surfing, they have everything they need. They just copy that info onto a blank card, and suddenly they're out spending your money.
Okay, I know, that was a lot of scary stuff. But here's the good news. You are not helpless in this fight. Not at all. So now we get to the most important part, building your digital defense kit. These are simple, real things you can do to keep yourself safe.
Let's start with your computer. This is your digital fortress. First, have good antivirus software, and please keep it updated. Second, treat unexpected emails like they're suspicious. Don't click, don't download. And finally, back up your files. Seriously, back them up regularly. It is your ultimate safety net.
And what about out in the real world? It really just comes down to being aware. Use your other hand to cover the keypad when you enter your PIN. It's such an easy habit. Look around you. Does anyone seem a little too close? Give the card reader a quick wiggle. Does anything feel loose or weird? And of course, check your bank statements for anything that looks off. I know we've said it before, but I'm going to say it one more time because it is that important. If a ransomware attacker locks up your computer, having a recent backup of your files changes everything. You don't have to panic, you don't have to pay them a dime, you just restore your files and it's like it never happened. It's your ultimate trump card.
So, we've gone from viruses and worms all the way to skimmers and shimmers. The threats are definitely real, but you know what? So are the solutions, and they're all things you can do. So I'll just leave you with this question. Your digital life, your photos, your data, your money, it's all valuable. Are you doing enough to protect it? Thanks for joining me.
You know, we hear about data breaches and hacks all the time, right? But it can leave you wondering, what can I actually do about it? Well, today we're going to give you the blueprint, the step-by-step guide to building your very own digital fortress.
So let's just start with a really direct question. How secure is your digital life really? I'm talking about everything, from your email and your bank account to all those photos you have stored in the cloud. It's all a potential target. But here's the good news. You have way more power to protect it than you might think.
And the best way to get a handle on this is to think of it like you're building a fortress. You wouldn't just build one big wall and call it a day, would you? No way. You create layers of defense. So in this explainer, we're going to walk you through building out those layers, from the very front gate to the deepest, most secure vault. All right, let's get started with that first line of defense.
Every single fortress needs a super strong front gate. And in our digital world, that gatekeeper, well, that's your password. It is literally the first thing standing between all of your private information and, well, the rest of the world.
Okay, and just look at the difference here. On one side, you've got password 1. I mean, come on, that's practically an open invitation. But on the other side, it looks like total gibberish, right? But check this out. It's actually created from a super simple, memorable phrase. The third planet is Earth. The 8th planet is Neptune. See, it's a fantastic trick for creating a password that's basically uncrackable, but still easy for you to remember.
So a really strong password just follows a simple recipe. You want a mix of uppercase letters, you need some numbers, and you gotta throw in some of those special characters. And this is crucial. You need to change it on a regular basis. Think about it. A password that's 5 years old is like having a rusty, broken lock on your fortress gate.
But what happens if someone actually gets your password? That's where the next layer of security comes in. Two-factor authentication, or as you've probably heard it called, 2FA. This is like having a second secret knock that only you know for the gatekeeper. It's not enough to just know the password, you also have to prove you are who you say you are in a completely different way.
So here's how that actually works. Let's say you're buying something online. First, you put in your password. That's the something you know. Then a unique one-time use code gets sent straight to your phone. That's the something you have. You absolutely need both of those things to finish the purchase, which stops a thief who only has your password dead in their tracks.
And this is exactly what it looks like in the real world. You get a simple little text message with a code, you just type it in, and boom, you're verified. It's such a small extra step, but it gives you a massive, massive boost in security for your account.
Okay, so we've secured the gate, but what if the key wasn't something you know or something you have, but something you are? This is where we get into the really fascinating world of biometrics. I mean, this is the ultimate personal key, isn't it? Your fingerprint, that unique pattern of ridges and valleys on your skin, is totally unique to you. Unlike a password, nobody can easily steal it, and you can't forget it. You literally become the key to your own fortress. And you know, it's not just fingerprints. We use a whole range of these biometric keys all the time, probably without even thinking about it. From your phone unlocking just by seeing your face, to scans of your retina, or even the unique pattern of your voice.
But of course, every method has its trade-offs. This slide really lays out that balance between how accurate something is versus how intrusive it can feel. A fingerprint scan, for example, is incredibly accurate, but some people just find it a bit intrusive. Face recognition, on the other hand, feels less invasive, but its accuracy can get all thrown off by simple things like bad lighting or even just a new pair of glasses.
And cost is another huge factor. A retina scan is unbelievably accurate, but it is also very, very expensive to implement. Then you have something like voice recognition, which is pretty cheap to use, but its accuracy is a lot lower. I mean, even just having a cold could change your voice enough to lock you out of your own account.
So, our gate is looking pretty secure now with strong passwords, 2FA, and biometrics. Now it's time to build the actual walls of our fortress. And in the digital world, these walls are your firewall.
A firewall basically acts like a security guard for your entire network. It stands right there between your computer and the internet, and it examines everything that tries to come in or go out. You can think of it like a digital bouncer, checking every single piece of data against a guest list that you control.
And that bouncer does a lot of work. It's not just blocking the obvious threats. It can also stop you from visiting malicious websites, and it'll even warn you if some program on your computer tries to send out your information without getting your permission first. It's an absolutely critical layer of your defense. Okay, our fortress has a strong gate and some seriously high walls. But what about when we need to send messages or data out of the fortress and get things back in? How do we make sure all that information travels safely? I'm sure you've seen this a million times. That little padlock icon, or the letters HTTPS, right at the start of a web address. Well, that's not just for decoration. It's actually a sign that you're using a secure, private tunnel for your data, and it's called SSL.
So how does this even work? Well, think of it like a secret handshake online. Your browser basically says to the website, hey, prove you are who you say you are. The website then flashes its credentials, kind of like a digital passport, which is called an SSL certificate. Once your browser checks it out and says, yep, this looks legit, they create this private encrypted tunnel just for the two of you. And now anything you send back and forth, whether it's your credit card info or a password, it's all scrambled and completely safe from anyone trying to listen in.
All right, we've secured the gate, we've built the walls, and we've established secure tunnels. Now it's time for the final, deepest layer, protecting the treasure that's inside the vault. And that means protecting the data itself through something called encryption.
Here's the thing. Even with the best fortress in the world, a really determined attacker might still find a way in. Encryption is your last line of defense. It's the one thing that ensures that if a thief does manage to break into your vault, all they're going to find is a bunch of indecipherable nonsense. And here's a super simple look at how that works. On the left, you've got a perfectly readable message. On the right, after it's been encrypted, it's just a jumble of scrambled text. Without the secret decryption key, that message is completely and totally useless to anyone who finds it.
So why does this matter so much? Because our data is everywhere now, especially in the cloud. This quote right here, it's from the fallout of a very real, very public celebrity hacking scandal. The hackers got past the password. They breached the gate.
But because the photos themselves weren't encrypted, they were totally exposed. This is the real-world consequence of building a fortress without that final critical layer of defense.
So there you have it. That's the blueprint for your digital fortress. You've got a strong gatekeeper with passwords and 2FA, you've got sturdy walls with a firewall, secure tunnels with SSL, and a secret code for your data with encryption. You've built your defenses, but the threats out there are always changing, always evolving. So the final question I'll leave you with is this: how will you maintain and upgrade your fortress to keep it secure for whatever comes next?